Welcome. My name is Jasmine Kamboj, and I'm a medical oncologist and hematologist in the state of Minnesota and your host for the day. Empowering Oncologists is a podcast brought to you by OncoDaily, where we will focus on day-to-day concerns of an oncologist's being and workflow, with a vision to find sustainable solutions. For our session today, we have a very special guest. He is by far the youngest guest on our show, Dr. Zach Schroeder. He is a recent medical school graduate, preparing to begin his internal medicine residency at Wake Forest University with the dream of becoming an oncologist. He is the founder of the Rural Cancer Institute, an organization that focuses on increasing access to cancer care in rural communities across the country. Besides his passions around becoming an oncologist, being an advocate on rural healthcare and cancer issues, and running an organization like Rural Cancer Institute, Zach loves spending time with his wife and their 2 dogs. He also loves to watch sports and ski whenever he can. Zach, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and share a little bit about my story and myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Zach, you grew up in a rural community, but you have traveled the world. Tell us about your personal journey and why and how did you end up in medicine?
Yeah, so was born in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, but had the opportunity because of my father's job to grow up in Beijing, China. And so Chinese was actually my first language, and then moved to Houston, Texas, and then back to my dad's hometown in Southeast Kansas. And it's where in Southeast Kansas where I was first introduced to medicine, or more so, I should say, the lack thereof. In 2015, our Mercy Hospital closed its doors due to financial instability. And so what was a huge economic driver of the community just left almost overnight. And so I had friends that left and mentors and all the such. And so I saw the lack of healthcare and what that did to the community. And so that was my first exposure to healthcare. And I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I could look into. And so that was kind of what got me into healthcare and more passionate about the rural space. So,
How old were you when you were going through those thoughts?
that was 2015 would have been my sophomore year of high school. So about 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
That was kind of the first. And then after that, there wasn't healthcare in my local community. So it wasn't really something that I could investigate. And so that's something that these rural communities, if they continue to have hospital closures, it's not just impacting right then. It's going to make it harder for, if they do reopen a hospital, there's not students that have ever experienced healthcare. And so it's not something that they idolize or something they dream to be. So it makes it even tougher if something does come back into the community or the surrounding communities. So it's just all around was a tragedy and continues to be a tragedy. However, there is clinics and other health systems have stepped in to fill the gap as much as they can.
Those are some visionary thoughts for a 15 or a 16-year-old, so I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Zach, moving on to your 21st birthday. There was a news that came in on your 21st birthday, which changed your life forever. And that was super transformational, of course. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it started about my, my sophomore year of college. So I guess my sophomore years of high school and college are very, very formative. But it was the second semester I was taking a very heavy load in preparation for medical school. And I remember sitting in my genetics final. It was my last final, and I had a little break, and I broke down in tears because I knew something wasn't right. I had this spot on the back of my neck that had been growing fairly rapidly. And then about a month or two prior, I just hadn't been feeling well, very tired, and losing a little bit of weight, nothing super concerning though. And so I got a biopsy of what was described as a mole on the back of my neck. And it was on my 21st birthday. I was working at Banana Republic in Gulf Shores, Alabama, where I received a phone call that I had melanoma, didn't know the stage, and that they were referring me to MD Anderson in Houston, Texas. And so at that time, if I turned my neck, you could see something kind of popping out of my neck. And so I sent a picture to a local oncologist friend back home in Wichita, Kansas. And he moved up my appointments and got me a PET scan. And so about a week later, I was diagnosed and found out that I had stage 3 melanoma. And so then I did 5 rounds of radiation over about 2.5 weeks, traveling from Kansas to Houston all during that time. And then followed by 12 rounds of immunotherapy, some of which I was able to do closer to home, but then still did my follow-up scans and appointments and all that kind of stuff down in Houston, Texas. And so my junior year of college was stressful, trying to find the time to be a college student, but also managing my health and the time away while still taking a full course load. I remember I had a test every other Friday in my physics class that I had to be back for. I didn't want people to make exceptions for me. I didn't want to be the kid with cancer. And so I did whatever I could to make my schedule work. And so I remember leaving Houston Thursday after appointments, driving through the night to make it back for a Friday morning physics exam. I'd like to blame that on my not great scores on the cancer diagnosis or the long nights, but I think it was more so my physics studying that I wasn't great at. And so, yeah, it was a very tough year, but a very formative year and kind of put me into where I am today.
Do you realize how inspiring the last 2 minutes of what you just said are?
I love sharing my story, and I hope that my story is the pain and the time and the effort and the financial struggle that cancer put me through. I really hope that my experience and me sharing it can help others without them having to go through what I went through. I also hope that I don't like to think of it as super empowering. I like to I don't want to put myself on a pedestal with it, but I also hope that I can share it and it informs policy and advocacy and all the bunch. Just because of all the struggles I went through. I think that story has power behind it, so I don't mind sharing it at all.
So you mentioned advocacy and policy. So June 4, which is your birthday, and that's the day of your diagnosis, unfortunately, too, is now the Rural Cancer Awareness Day. So how best to utilize this diagnosis and your birthday to start a new nationwide movement? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was an idea that we had initially when we started the Rural Cancer Institute, and we kind of shooted for the stars, applying on the national level. And so, but then as we've gone along, we've almost found that our initiatives might be better state to state, just because cancer care from state to state is so different. Because you have some states that are very rural, and you have other states that are more urban, and then you have some states that are more rural based on population density, but then you have other states that are more rural based on the land mass. And so that is something that we started about I think this was our 3rd year of Rural Cancer Awareness Day, maybe. So it started off with Kansas with Governor Laura Kelly, which is my home state. And more recently, we've added North Carolina, Idaho, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and a few others. And we're up to between 10 and 12 and still applying to several states as well. But our dream is always if we could get it on the national level as well, because there's a rural patient in every single state. So we are thankful for the governors and the individuals that have put their time and effort into applying on the state level. Can't thank them enough. And so we're really excited about Rural Cancer Awareness Day. Like you said, it's my birthday, the day I was diagnosed, and having it as Rural Cancer Awareness Day is something that makes me reflect every single June 4th, maybe more so than if it was just my birthday.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you to you and your entire team at Rural Cancer Institute for starting this moment, because I think we need awareness around rural cancer care and rural healthcare in general. Zach, circling back to the Rural Cancer Institute piece, you are one of the co-founders. And how did you guys come up with this idea? What have been some of the challenges or wins in addition to starting the Rural Cancer Awareness Day for your institute?
Yeah. So starting off with why we started it. So I went into medical school thinking I could do rural family medicine, and that was what was offered in a rural space. But I had this interest in oncology as well because of my experience. And so I was at the National Rural Health Association conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and there was a presentation given by Dr. Wade Swenson and a few others that was titled Rural Oncology. And I was like, wow, these are the...
And this was what year again?
This was 3 years ago. So this would have been the summer right after my first year of medical school. So summer of 2022, I think it is.
Okay.
in May. And I went to the presentation, and after the presentation, he had a lot of people asking him questions. And so I just sent him an email, and then we set up a Zoom like we are having right now, and told him a little bit about my story, my passions, where I'm from, and now that I was a second year medical student at that time. And we talked about how there used to be an ASCO group that was designed for rural cancer delivery. And during COVID, it kind of fell apart. Not saying that ASCO isn't still focusing on rural cancer delivery, but there was this gap in rural cancer care, and there wasn't a group designed for that. And so we started as ruralcancer.org, but that just didn't flow off the tongue the way we wanted it to. And so more recently, we changed it to the Rural Cancer Institute. And we started off as just a group of about 4 or 5 of us, and have since grown to across the country, maybe 40, 50, maybe even 60 people now that we've had our conference across the country, doing research, policy, advocacy, and then just building community. I think that's something that we overlook a lot is rural oncologists feel isolated. And so I think one of our biggest initiatives that we maybe don't focus enough time on is just building community amongst those rural practitioners. And then you asked about some of the challenges and some of the successes. I think some of the successes is just seeing a community come together and realize, hey, we're doing this. Maybe this is something that you could do, and just building community, and then just seeing people excited about something that I get so excited about. I often have to find myself turning off talking about rural oncology because it'll be all that I will talk about. Some of the challenges, not necessarily with we've been growing pretty rapidly over the last 3 years, and more so just in the last year. And I think the biggest challenges are just the red tape that comes with growth and with financial backing as well. And so one of the biggest challenges is getting grants. And so like we've grown, and I do a lot of the administrative work, and so a lot of the research work. And so it'd be great if we were able to hire full-time administrative staff so that I could focus more of my time on things that I'm truly passionate about in policy and research. I think that is a big one. And then also just the red tape that comes with being a non-for-profit and things of that nature. It just takes a lot of time, but also very thankful that we are able to call ourselves a non-for-profit and truly be able to feel like we're providing something that is beneficial for local communities and people across the country.
Wonderful. And you guys just had your inaugural Rural Cancer Conference in Lawrence, Kansas, and that was a huge success. It was a lot of attendees, more than you expected, a lot of industry people as well, poster presentations from across the nation. ASCO was there as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did it feel after that?
Yeah. So I think it was about probably 9-10 months ago. I was starting my 4th year, and my schedule was pretty calm. I didn't have many tests coming up, and we always talked about having our own conference, but maybe it was 10 years down the road. And I was like, let's just do it. Not anticipating the work that would come from that. So the past 7-8 months then were consumed by planning all of that. And I went out and kind of set my own numbers of this is how many attendees I wanted. That number was between 80 to 100. We wanted so many poster presentations, so many exhibitors, and we went above and beyond that. So 80 to 100 at conference attendees, we ended up with about 150. And so it was twice as many as what we anticipated, or what I set out as a goal. We had more exhibitors than we thought we would. And we had more poster presentations than we thought we would. And so it was a tremendous success. And I think that is due to the team that I put together around me, and people from the Rural Cancer Institute, people from outside the Rural Cancer Institute that all just wanted to join and help. And so very thankful for the team that helped me put that together, and thankful for the speakers. I think that was a big draw for a lot of people, including yourself and people from KU. And I think we had a great array of academic community, and then also just advocates as well. And so we had a great speaker lineup. We're already thinking about, hey, how are we going to develop this conference to next year? Where are we going to put the conference next year? We're already working on plans for that, and maybe even do 2 conferences, just because we see a need for 2 different sets of where we could do conferences. And so I think it's just once again building community and bringing people together with the like mind and the like cause is a great way to build community. And so doing that through a conference, it was just so great and really reminded us that we have a place in rural cancer care, rural cancer delivery. And so we're excited for our next conference as well.
So you had 8 to 9 months of no test taking.
Yeah.
And so you throw a conference.
Yeah.
You do realize you have to reflect on yourself and your goals.
Yeah. I'm the kind of person that I needed to keep myself busy with something. And so it was so different and so unique. It's planning a conference. Yes, it's around medicine, but it's more around kind of business communication and all of those things that aren't unique, but that I won't be doing every single day in my career. And so it was very also refreshing just to do something different outside of medicine while also keeping myself busy. I found myself at the beginning trying to fill time, and it was a great way to fill time. And also it was a great way to fill time, and it also is going to just really increase the trajectory of the Rural Cancer Institute. So I hope as I transition into my intern year of residency, that the trajectory that I put the Rural Cancer Institute on can continue. So that was one of my big objectives last year.
Any challenge while you were planning this conference, or one thing that you would do differently if you have to do this all over again?
The major thing, and very thankful for the exhibitors that came, but it is a lot of work to manage all the exhibitors, all the different legal teams from those exhibitors and the industry. And so that was really tough. And so I would redo how we did that whole section, maybe set a cap on the number of exhibitors just so that we didn't have too many, just because I felt like once we got to a certain number, it was just it became a little too time consuming for that. And so it was taking away from other areas as well. Very thankful for every single partner that could come. And so, but I think that is the one area that I would change up and do a little bit differently. I think everything else was, granted, everything else could have had little tweaks here and there that could be changed to make it just an even better conference. But I would say for myself, that would have been the biggest thing that I would have changed to make it easier on myself and easier on my team.
Well, it was a fantastic experience for us all, and thank you for inviting us. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Good.
Zach, one advice you would share with the current undergrads or high schoolers who are just doubting their, who are just like not sure where they want to head next, and medicine is not one of their considerations quite clearly as their next choice.
I think a lot of people that go through medical school would say they don't want to do it again, but I think I would probably be the odd one out to say I would 100% do it again. I loved medical school. I loved learning. I felt like college was kind of just another step to where I wanted to be, whereas medical school was not that for me. I truly enjoyed medical school and learning about things that I'm truly passionate about. It is a very long road to get there. I tell people that I still have to be an oncologist, which is my dream. I still have another 6 years and their jaw almost hits the floor. And so it is a long road, but it's a road well traveled. And so people have gone down the road before, and that's something I just remind myself of. If other people can do this, then I can do this as well. And so it's the reward is not just at the end when you get your MD, or when you finish residency or when you finish fellowship. There's so many rewards along the way. And I think that's something that myself included, but people in medicine don't realize, is that we have to celebrate the journey as we go, because the journey's really long. And so if we only celebrate the end, we're going to miss out on so many celebrations on the in between. I had a lot of time driving out to North Carolina to reflect on that, and really sitting on what has gone on, what have I accomplished, what friends have I developed over the last 4 years. And so instead of just saying that this is just another step to the end of graduating fellowship, now this is a time to celebrate. This was a great time. And so I've really learned that, and that really helps me to set goals, to attain the goals, but then reflect on the goals and realize that something has been accomplished.
I think I would also add there that when we get scared about, okay, medicine is a long-term commitment, what we don't realize is if we want to be good at whatever else we want to do, there is a 10 plus year commitment there too. So like, if you go to business or whatever, teaching, whatever, right? You have to have that 10 to 20 years of commitment to build network, credibility, whatever, right? So it's just that in medicine, it's on paper.
Yeah, both of my brothers actually went back to school and got their MBAs. So they went and worked for a while and then got their MBAs for 3 years. And so I knew they were going to do that. They're much older than me. And so they were going through their MBAs while I was in college. And that was another thing I just thought of, like, wow, this is just, I'm just going to put all my school together. So that, like, they did 4 years. They did just 1 year less of school than I did. But a lot of people now go to these longer roads. And so it's just a long road that you put together and costs probably a little bit more, but very well worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. One advice you would give to yourself of 5 years ago?
That's a tough question. And I think about that pretty often. I think it would be just to say yes to opportunities, but also say no to certain things. Looking back, I think there's things that I said no that I'm thankful that I said no to, but I think so often we're told to say yes to everything. But realize for me personally that it's okay to say no to certain things. And I think that would have saved me a lot of, not heartache, but like over the top busyness if I would have said no to certain things. Or maybe I was in something and then realized that maybe I outgrew it and then saying no. And so, for instance, that's something I'm trying to practice right now. I write, for the past 18 months, I wrote a monthly rural health column in my hometown to improve rural health literacy. And I realized, hey, I'm not going to have the time during residency to be able to write this every month, to proofread it or whatever it is, to submit it. It also took me a lot because I don't just write about rural cancer. I would write about rural OBGYN, deserts, cancer training, just all of the health generally. And so I would have to do my own research to find out, to read, to be able to put together a column that could be digestible by people living in a rural area. And so that's something that I'm not totally letting go of because I love it, but I handed it off to one of my younger colleagues, Samson Ma, who will do a great job with it. And he's putting together a team that will write each month to continue with the rural health column. I'll still be a part of it, but that is one practice that I wish I would have been better at during the last 5 years, of building something up and then kind of handing it off, because it also is very valuable to those other people that step into it and gives them great opportunity. And so that is something that I wish I would have done better at, that I'm still practicing and that I'm practicing right now.
So basically you're learning to become a strong mentor while you're still becoming a resident.
Yeah, that's the goal.
You have a lot of head start there.
Yeah, I think I was the keynote speaker at one of my high school addresses, and that's something that I talked about wisdom. And I think our society sometimes gets wisdom wrong, in that it's just old people have wisdom, but whatever you're doing and the way you've done it, you have wisdom in that section. And so I think I might not have wisdom for the long time, but I have wisdom in the things that I've gone through, and there's always people coming up behind me. And so I love to plug into those younger individuals as well and hand them opportunities that I've been handed as well, if not more. And so that's something that I really enjoy doing and could honestly do even more of, because if I only built myself up in rural health is going to fail. But if I'm able to boost up others, older, younger, the same age as me, we might be able to accomplish greater things. And so that's something I'm really passionate about as well.
Very, very cool. Thank you. Zach, a bit of a rapid fire for you. Your favorite book?
Ooh, I think my favorite one was one of the first large books I ever read was Holes, just because the movie was so great, or The Blind Side. Those were two books I really loved.
I have not read either one of them. What are they about?
The Holes there's a movie, and I read the book first, and it's about two young individuals who have transgressed in their life, and they go to like a juvenile camp where they dig holes and they try to escape, and so it's very interesting. The Blind Side, I read this one a long time ago, and it was about a football player that was in an adopted family. in a very wealthy family and kind of stepping into something that he didn't know, but was very successful and then played in the NFL, and a very inspiring story as well.
I think I've seen the movie.
That one's a movie as well.
Yeah.
Oh, another one is When Breath Becomes Air.
Mm-hmm.
But that one I was reading on my way out to Colorado with some of my fraternity brothers, and I just started crying in the back seat. And they're like, "What is wrong with this emotional guy?" Just an incredible book. Hits really close to home. My wife has not read it, and I'm not gonna let her read it because I think it might make it a little bit
Trigger some.
Yeah. But final answer: When Breath Becomes Air. It's
Okay.
an amazing book.
It's hands down. It's one of the best I've read. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Your favorite leader?
It's kind of easy to say. I think Dr. Wade Swenson, does a great job leading the Rural Cancer Institute. He's one of my co-founders. I'm very thankful for the way he's led me. And then also one of Craig Knoll, who is one of my middle school basketball coaches. He led me tremendously during middle school and then high school. And currently every single Monday, he sends me a text message and checks in on me every Monday and sends me something inspiring or something thought-provoking. And so he didn't just lead me for that little time. He continues to connect with me, and he does with other students. And so he's just a great leader. So I would say that too right now.
That's awesome. Your favorite restaurant in Lawrence, Kansas?
Oh, so it used to be Bon Thai, but they've recently closed. It was my favorite. I love Thai food. A new one is called The Globe, and it's Southern Indian. And I've only been there like once or twice, but it's so good. Every time I go to town and with my parents, I'm always, let's go to The Globe. I love it. Very good.
Where are your parents at?
They're out here in North Carolina right now, but they're actually flying to Houston this afternoon for my nephew's birthday party, and then flying back to North Carolina to pick up their truck and drive back to Kansas. They're living the retired life, and so they are all over. They're never in the same place for more than a week and a half.
That's cute.
Yeah.
But where in Kansas are they based?
I would say in Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh, they are. Okay.
But they also go to Colorado a lot, and so yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Your favorite ski resort?
I would say the thing that sets Beaver Creek over the top for me is after a long, hard day. I'm also a cheapskate, very frugal. And so I don't like spending money, and food on the mountain is really expensive. So I don't eat anything. I'll have like a granola bar. I'll have a water that I carry on me. But at the end of the day, Beaver Creek, they hand out hot cookies at the base. And I go and get like 4 or 5 of those when I can. And so the terrain there is great, but the thing that really sets it apart is the hot cookies at the end of the long, hard day of skiing that are free. So that makes it even better. So I would go with Beaver Creek.
What is it about the free stuff? We all love that, isn't it? Especially free food, right? We would do anything for just a free cookie. Oh, I'm like that too.
It could be the most average thing, but if it's free, I'm like, wow, this was a 10 out of 10. Like I would come back.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It definitely adds to the flavor and adds to it. So for sure.
Wonderful. One fun fact about you, Zach. Please share with us, how did you meet your lovely wife, and one place in the world you would love to go with her?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Kansas for undergrad, and my wife went to K-State, and so they're rivals in the state of Kansas. And she was getting her master's in Manhattan at K-State while I was in my first year of medical school. And after a test, we had the weekend off, and so we went to Manhattan to go out to have some fun. And her friends from Manhattan had gone to KU Medical School where I was at school, and so we had mutual friends. She taught me how to two-step at Dirty Dogs, which is a country bar in Manhattan, Kansas. And so we went there. She taught me how to two-step. And then the next day I asked her for a number at church. And then the next week I went back and took her out on a date at a winery there in Manhattan and went to an Italian place to eat. And the rest is history. But one place I would love to go, I went to the French Open a few years ago, but my wife and I love tennis. We both grew up playing tennis. And recently the French Open just finished, and we watched a ton of the French Open. And so we were both talking about like, that is the place that we really want to go. We want to go to Paris. We want to go to the French Open. I want to go to soccer games. She also just loves French anything, French pastries, French coffee, whatever it is. And so I've had the chance to go, but it's definitely something where I would love to go with
Yeah.
my wife.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cute. Zach, last question for you. If you were to relive your life, would you choose medicine and why?
I would choose medicine again. I think
Mhm.
the one thing that kind of holds me back from medicine is the cost to go to medical school, especially with a cancer diagnosis. Thankfully, I had my parents helping us with through cancer and through survivorship. But my wife and I were kind of breaking down the numbers, and she was a first grade teacher. I was a medical student. And so if we took our insurance premiums and our copays and everything, it would be a third of our salary
Mhm.
for us, for me to
Mhm.
follow up for my appointments. And then
Mhm.
also at the same time, then you have that medical debt. And then you also add on $250,000, $300,000 worth of medical school debt. It just
Mhm.
becomes very expensive, and with interest rates the way they are, it's just, you feel like at this time of my life,
Mhm.
stepping into residency, I feel like I'm staring up at a mountain that is very tall, and the chisel that I've been given as in a paycheck is very small. And so it just seems like something that is a mountain that's too tall to climb sometimes. And so I would choose it again, but I would um prepare myself mentally a little bit more for what the
Mhm.
financial burden was going to be through medical school.
Mhm.
And so honestly, that might be the biggest piece of advice,
Mhm.
because debt is something that's so common in our country, but also at the same time, it's something that's really hard to digest and to get over. And so I would definitely choose medicine again. I would just be prepared for the debt a little bit more.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Very honest answers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach.
Yes. Thank
And
you for having me.
yeah, yeah. So some of the key takeaways from Dr. Zach Schroeder. He has a message for the undergrads and high school students who may be hesitant about medicine because medicine is not all about perfectionism or high grades. It is also about your heart and your perspective and passions. So your story could be your strength, folks. So don't hesitate about medicine if you really genuinely think that you want to go into that. There are some other things that Zach said which resonated very strongly with me. Is that sometimes when you are contemplating something big, like he was thinking about the Rural Cancer Conference, you don't have to wait for the right moment, which may or may not come 10 years down the road. You just have to get started. And that's what he did. He's like, let's just do it. And he made it happen over a span of 8 to 9 months, which is pretty incredible, if you ask me. And then the last thing, which I think is also very critical to keep in mind, is that say both yes and no to opportunities that come along your way. And the path of medicine is very unique in the sense that the reward doesn't come at the end of the journey. It is the journey. And there are so many wins and rewards that come along the way that you have to keep them in mind. I believe that, every single day that you practice medicine can be so rewarding. Of course, we all have bad days. No job does not have those bad days, but it is still a rewarding journey. It is a long journey. So please keep in mind the rewards that come along the way while
Mhm.
you look at the long-term commitment, which, by the way, comes with other professions as well. So that is all, folks. Thank you to our viewers and listeners. This is Jasmine Kamboj and Zach Schroeder signing off on behalf of OncoDaily from our conversation on Empowering Oncologists. Thank you.
Take it.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OncoDaily on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to stay updated.